Solo Leveling Monarchs is my dream solo leveling game. After watching season 2 and the show still being peak, I started having this idea for a video game. So I was mulling it over and over and I decided to read the whole manhwa to see if this idea would violate any of the rules of the universe, and I think it actually works. Despite me having read the entire thing, this video will contain no spoilers if you're anime only. In fact, if you've watched season 1, you've got most of the concepts you need to know already. And I'd like to add that this idea is free for anyone to use, or to change, or to steal, whatever. I won't be seeking compensation, I won't be copywriting the idea, seeking legal advice, or pursuing it. I'm not gonna sue anyone. Not even gonna ask anyone to give me credit. This is my dream solo leveling game. I would just be happy enough to see it become a reality. We begin by making our own character. We don't play as Sun Jin-woo or any of the other hunters from the show, or I guess you could if you want to make them, but in this game we would have the ability to make our own hunter, customizing their look to our liking, choosing their starting gear from the options available, and please stop making Sun Jin-woo, please! It's also here that you choose your starting class. We're gonna stick pretty close to what the real solo leveling jobs are, so we've got fighter, tanker, assassin, mage, healer, and ranger. Once we're happy with our choices, our journey starts as a low rank hunter. Our options are limited, but as an E rank hunter, we can still get many jobs. Gates pop up all the time in this world, and it's our job to join a party of hunters to enter these gates, defeat the boss within, and close them. Gameplay wise, I see this as an isometric action game, not too different from how Hades plays. But you could honestly do it as a third person action game too. The concept would work just as well. What I like about the Hades concept is that after clearing each room, you have the choice on how you want to move forward. You have multiple paths to choose from, and you never know exactly what the next room looks like. And that is because each room is generated on every run of Hades. Dungeons are the main content you will be playing in this dream solo leveling game, so it needs to stay fresh, and having each dungeon feel different by generating each room every time is a very good way of doing that. Not only do you change the environment, but you also change which enemies show up and how many of them show up. Is this the type of dungeon where you're going to be fighting non-stop every room, or will you actually find some rooms where you can relax and catch your breath? You don't know. There's just no way of knowing until you start clearing the dungeon, but that's part of what makes it fun. But also, unlike Hades, this would actually be a multiplayer game, or multiplayer optional, I should say. The structure would be something similar to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. You hang around in the hub, you choose a mission, and then you can play it with a party of CPU teammates, or matchmake with random players, or even have a pre-made party if you want to play with your friends. There's this game I've been keeping an eye on called Windblown from the developers of Dead Cells. As you can see, it's also isometric, kind of like Hades, but it's multiplayer and roguelike, so maybe it's something like that. It sounds similar, but I haven't had the chance to play it yet, so I can't say for sure. Now, in solo leveling, to enter a gate, you need a party of 10 hunters. 10 people may be a bit too much for a default dungeon in a video game. I mean, imagine having to wait for 10 players before doing anything. So here we might take some creative liberty and deviate from the solo leveling lore and just go for 4-player dungeons by default. Some higher level gates could be up to 10 players, maybe even more, but 4 is a nice basis for a default gate, especially if you consider the starting classes that exist. Tackling a dungeon with a random party can mean a really high number of possible combinations here, and having different classes can affect your strategy significantly when clearing these gates. At the end of the gate, you may get some rewards. It could be new equipment or new weapons that you can equip to get stronger, but while staying true to solo leveling, you cannot level up your hunter. Your abilities are that of an E rank, so you can only equip E rank equipment. In order to level up, you need to go through a Reawakening, but to understand how that actually happens, we need to go back. Back to before the gates, before the character creation, all the way back to the start menu. Because you see, when you boot up this game, you're immediately faced with an option. Do you want to be a player, or do you want to be the system? All we have seen so far is from the point of view of a player, but what makes this a solo leveling game and not just a random RPG is being the architect of a system and having the ability to guide a real player through their journey. As the system, you'd get a list of available players at the start. Since you were low level, you'd only be able to select E rank hunters, but as your player ranks up, your system starts to have more options available. And you don't just play as the player or the system, you don't have to choose, you can jump between the two. In fact, you are encouraged to play both roles, since progress on one side can help the other. Let's say you're using the system and you select a player. They immediately go through a Reawakening. They can now receive quests from you, the system. And you can start simple. You can give them a daily quest, something the player would be doing anyway, like clear 2 gates every day. If they do that, they get a prize and they get to level up their stats. The harder the daily quests, the better rewards you can get. Gates naturally exist in the world. They are out of your control as the system. It's not quite like Dungeon Land here, where you spawn monsters inside the gates and whatnot, trying to stop the player from progressing, but more like you can modify the existing dungeons, making them more dangerous, like turning them into red gates, which allows you in turn to give your player better rewards if they manage to clear them. And it would be nice to spectate your player in real time, in case both of you are awake and playing simultaneously. That would be a cool bonus. And you can simply set these up, or since being online at the same time as someone else isn't always possible, you can also simply set these up ahead of time and wait for your player to find those upgraded dungeons. They can just stumble upon them, or you can guide them towards them by giving them quests on that particular gate. The rewards you have available as the system are the same rewards that you have unlocked as the player character. And as the system, if the player you are managing unlocks something new, then that reward also becomes available in your world as a player. I realize this may be a bit confusing, so let's go for a specific example. Let's say you're doing a D rank gate and all you can find is this shield, but you already have it equipped. This is a waste of time. However, the player that you selected as a system is also a D rank hunter and he has actually found some gloves, and that means that your player character can now find gloves in a D rank dungeon as well. And this isn't limited to items you can equip, by the way. This can also include special dungeon keys that give players access to solo dungeons that offer unique challenges and unique rewards as well. And now that you've reawakened, you're getting stronger. You're raising through the ranks. You're no longer an E rank. You're climbing all the way to S rank hunter, where a special dungeon becomes available. And if you clear that dungeon, you can change jobs. As the system, you can also troll your player or be trolled by the system if you're playing the game. For instance, imagine the player is putting all of their skill points into strength, and then you give them a special dungeon where they can upgrade their job into a mage. Ultimately, the player can always say no. No player is forced down any path, but it's better if the player and the system are collaborating. They progress faster. But this is where the name Monarchs comes from. That is your ultimate goal, to become a monarch. We all know Sun Jin-woo became the Monarch of Shadows in Season 1, gaining some unique powers and abilities, really overpowered stuff, if I'm being honest. But what if that was only one of the paths you could take? What if there were, let's say, 10 different monarchs, each one with their own overpowered abilities? Then suddenly, making your own character can take you in a variety of different paths. I was inspired by this panel where Sun Jin-woo was theorizing how jobs would evolve in this world, and I made this whole thing for this game. I found this subreddit for a game called Idol Guildmaster, and I thought the pixel art was actually perfect for showing the path to becoming a monarch in this game. The idea would be, once you hit S rank, you get your first job evolution quest, where you have a choice on what you want to become. And when you become a national hunter level, you get that second evolution, and you could go down the linear path, or you can try to cross paths, mixing both abilities together. And it's when you go beyond that point that you can become a monarch. I have made this concept with 10 different monarchs. There are a few that have multiple ways of reaching the same conclusion. For instance, the Monarch of Shadows can be achieved as both an assassin or as a mage. But as you can see, your first choice of job back in character creation kind of sets you on your journey to becoming a specific monarch. So let's say you started as a fighter, just a dude with a sword clearing dungeons until you hit the S rank. Now you can choose to become a warrior, which is a more balanced character, or a barbarian, which is more about all-out offense. Choosing a warrior gives you access to a unique warrior skill. Let's make it something like a war cry, a skill that stuns every opponent around a warrior for a short time. As you continue your progress and eventually hit national level, you can change your mind and go down the berserker route. So now you have the warrior's war cry, but you also have the unique berserker skill of not flinching on enemy attacks. Is this a powerful combination? I have no clue. These skills should feel overpowered. That's the whole point of being a player in this world of hunters. The game just has to level up itself to meet your new powers if anything feels overpowered. And if you go beyond the level of National Hunter and become the Monarch of Fangs, you gain some claws that have the ability to rip time and space itself. But if you ever want to go back to your initial class choice, it's easy. Just make a new character and your progress from the first character will actually carry over. So you don't have to start as an E rank hunter anymore. Whatever ranks you've unlocked, you can now skip towards. Also, on your journey, you probably got a ton of equipment that your class can use. So now you'll see that your starting gear has a lot more options. You're not really starting from scratch when creating a new character. And in fact, you can make it your goal to become every different type of monarch in the game. Not with the same character, that wouldn't be possible. But you know, you make multiple characters. You collect the monarchs that way. And once you reach the monarch status, remember, you're not alone. There are other monarchs out there, other players that have reached the same level, and they are hungry to tackle some of the most dangerous high-level gates. But to do that, they're gonna need to gather as a party. And that is my dream solo leveling game. A party of monarch level hunters, each one with their overpowered abilities, and somehow the game feeling challenging enough. The game giving you such broken bosses that you coming together as a party of 10 monarchs feels like an appropriate challenge. And the reason why you got there is because you've leveled up your hunter from an E rank hunter all the way up, and you've also helped others do the same by playing as the system. It's always challenging to convey this concept idea of a dream game that I've thought of in my head. I hope we've been able to do that today with editing and with my words as well. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think of this concept specifically in the comments down below. And if you'd like to see more concepts like this, which show should I tackle next? But for more concepts, check out these 10 anime that need a video game adaptation this year. Thanks for watching. Bye.